All right, what's up, everyone? So today we are going to talk a little bit about sprinting and two different parts of the sprinting process or the sprinting motion, whatever you want to call it. Since it is now September 1st when I'm recording this, it is sprintember. So this month we celebrate. It was designed by Coach Mike Tucker, who is the one of the strength coaches over at Villanova University. I believe he's still there. But I heard about it a few years ago, and I just thought, wow, that's the best because there's Squat-tober, there's Dead-cember. Why not Sprintember? Because sprinting is the ultimate exercise for building muscle, burning fat, getting faster, getting stronger, all that stuff. That is what sprinting is for. And today we're going to talk about uh, acceleration, the acceleration phase of sprinting, and the top speed or max velocity phase, and a little bit about what the form should look like, how to do them, different exercises you can use, and just the differences between those two phases. So basically, when you're sprinting, obviously there's going to be a start. That's your first couple steps. You could come from any stance really, whether you're a track sprinter going from the blocks, defensive end going from a 3-point stance, a wide receiver in there, 2-point stance, a base runner ready to steal a base, whatever it is. That's your start. But initially, after the start, in order to get to top speed, we need to accelerate. So think of acceleration as gaining speed. Whether you're driving your car, you're pushing on the gas pedal as you hear the engine rev up, and you're getting faster and faster and faster. With the car, obviously your top speed is going to be a lot faster. You're going to be accelerating faster and with more speed than you are sprinting, unless you're a freak, which you might want to join the Olympics then. But so acceleration is that gaining speed, that momentum in building up into your top speed. So if we think about acceleration, we're going to think of it as more of a lean. You're going to have more of an angle. I like to tell kids, think of your body as like a ramp. If you were a ramp, you could drive, you could take that skateboard off it or bike off it, whatever it is. So a lot of people, some mistakes I see is that they're too low when they're too like hunched over when they're accelerating. But think of it more as a ramp. So kind of like, and I'll link some videos into this as you're more at an angle. That's why I have this sled here to demonstrate, because it's hard to just hold an acceleration pose without something to push against. So you might see things like wall drills. I'm not a huge fan of the wall drills. If you're doing iso holds, just to kind of get used to that, I can see that. But I like the sled better for building that acceleration pose because you can move with the sled. So if you think of the acceleration pose, that acceleration form, you're going to be more like this, that angle. You're not going to be hunched over and super low. You're going to be extended, driving off that whatever foot it is, that back foot driving forward, the other knee is driving up. You don't want to be out extended like that. So it's that, and then you're kind of replacing. When your foot's coming down, it's coming back down under your hip. Because like I said, if you're coming out here, you're going to lose all your momentum of driving and pushing back. Think of acceleration as push, kind of like maybe like you're a donkey kicking back. You're pushing back, replacing, landing underneath your hip when you're driving forward, pushing forward. So it's back underneath the hip, back underneath the hip. Whereas, like I said, what slows a lot of people down is they try to overextend that step, and the foot is out in front of the hip, so they have to regain balance control and just kind of push themselves forward, and you're just slowing yourself down. So that acceleration is that angled pose. I don't know, different angles, different body types. Think, I don't know, like a 45-ish degree angle, somewhere in there, between 45 and 90, somewhere in that range. Again, depending on your sport, your start, your body, your leg length, torso length, those types of things. But you want to be angled. And as you're building up, think again, pushing back and gaining speed with each step.
Here you see that forward lean, the foot pushing back, big arm separation. Yeah, form could be better, but
you're slowly going to angle up to more upright. Once we hit max velocity or top speed, you're going to be more upright. Whereas you watch Usain Bolt in the 100, dude, shoot out of the blocks at that angle, and as he progresses down the track, he's more upright. By the time he's at top speed, he's super relaxed, but his knees are still coming out high, big front side separation, and he's more upright with the torso. If you think of the leg motion, oh, sorry, let's drop back to acceleration again. Your arms, again, obviously you can't see the arms. That's the only problem with the sled is you can't work the arms. But when you're coming out, and I'll post a video too, your arms should be a lot of separation in your arms. Again, there's no perfect form for arms. You'll see some guys run with a close fist, some guys have straight arms, but the majority of good, fast accelerators and sprinters, they're gonna have a big separation. Think kind of like your uppercutting is a good cue I use a lot of times is uppercut on that acceleration and have a lot of separation between the two arms and gradually, like I said, then once you get more upright, it's going to be more that. Again, it's relaxed, but once we get to top speed, where we're going as fast as we can, we're not able to hold it as long because human capabilities. Top speed's not going to last super long. To hit that top speed, we're more upright. Think of the leg motion kind of more like a pedaling on a bicycle. It's up, boom. You're not like a lot of people will run like that. Those are butt kickers like that. That's a terrible drill. It's not going to help. It teaches bad form. Yes, you're kind of kicking your butt, but it's more kicking your hamstring. And that circular, cylindrical motion when you're in top speed. But again, think of acceleration, that angle, as you're driving, hip pushing back with the foot underneath the hip, and you gradually, as you go, you come more upright. And still, the foot is not going to land out in front of you because if you land there, again, it's going to slow you down. Your foot's always going to want to land right underneath the hip. That's a hip. The foot is always going to land underneath the hip and still project you forward. And you should just think putting a lot of force on the ground, but being quick with your feet off the ground. So it's boom. Obviously, I can't do it right now because I'm not at top speed. And you have to build up top speed. You have to accelerate into top speed unless you have one of those treadmills where you can just speed it up and just jump right into your top speed. So again, acceleration builds into your top speed. There are two different parts of the sprinting movement, sprinting exercise of two different phases, if you want to call them that. But you use acceleration, that more angled, you're pushing back, and you're building into that, gradually building into that top speed as you go down. Think, I don't know, maybe around 20, 30 yards. Everyone's going to be different as when they can get to their top speed. And it's all really going to depend on your ability. Some people can accelerate quicker into it, but top speed is really what determines the fastest athletes. You can be a great accelerator, but if you can't get the top speed and your top speed's not very fast, you're not going to be very fast overall. But acceleration is going to help you a lot in team sports because think of it, baseball, you're accelerating stop and go. Football is stop and go. Basketball is stop and go. You're not really getting to top speed in those sports, but top speed will help you because speed is the tide that raises all boats, like Tony Holler says. It makes everything else better and easier to do. So if you're faster, it's easier to get stronger. It's easier to do things better. You get sports, be a better athlete. But then you got to learn to control that speed too and use game speed, which is totally another topic, which we'll talk about in a different video. But acceleration is that, again, the main thing I want you to know from this is just acceleration, that angle into it, that kind of forward lean, and foot coming back underneath the hip, driving up the knee up, and then you're gradually getting more upright into that, into the max velocity top speed, where you're more upright and your leg motion is more cylindrical. And again, watch the videos that I'll put in here and you'll see those. So again, exercises, accelerations, just doing accelerations is the best thing you can do. Start from different starts, whether you're a track athlete, go from the blocks, starting at 2-point stance, start in your baseball, like you're stealing a base stance, and just work on that acceleration, that push off, driving that knee, driving at an angle, and pushing through the ground forward. So again, it's more horizontal, and then max velocity, top speed is more vertical. So you're hitting the ground more vertically and up, but you're still projecting forward. So you can think of shorter sprints, 10, 20, 30 yards, but anytime you're really sprinting, you're going to be accelerating, even into top velocity, top speed drills. So for those, again, acceleration sleds are good. I like sled marches just kind of as a warm-up to kind of build into that phase. Like I said, I like them better than wall drills because wall drills you're not actually moving forward, whereas if you're using a sled you're actually moving forward, and in wall drills your feet are just always going in the same spot. So it's not actually kind of getting you used to moving in that acceleration pose or form. Whereas a sled, it's going to allow you to move forward, and you're going to project forward while your feet aren't always landing in the same spot, but they're still landing underneath your hip and pushing you forward. So you can do sled pushes, sled pulls. If you have a 1080 machine, you can do any real resisted. Running will work on that forward lean because you have a weight behind you. If you got a tire, like I use a tire sprints, chain sprints, tie a sled behind you. Again, sled pushes, sled pulls, those things are great for building that acceleration form, but the best way to do is just accelerate. So just work on that form. You can do, if you have a crash pad or a bunch of mats, you can get in that form and just dive into it, kind of get your start and just dive or push forward, excel into it, kind of like you're flopping into a pool. You could even do it in a pool if you have a pool. Kneeling starts are great because you're starting down like that. It forces you into that acceleration right away. So half kneeling starts are great. But then we get into top speed. My favorite, not really drills, but movements for that, exercises for that are fly 10s. So build up. Again, you're accelerating in the build up. Maybe it's building up for 20 yards, and then you're timing your fly 10. So it's that 10 yards at top speed. You can do 30, 10, those types of things, just to see how fast, how long it takes you to get to top speed and how fast your top speed really is. Time yourself. Use a GPS to track how fast you're actually going if you have access to that. And make sure you're rested when you're, especially doing sprinting. You have to be rested because you're not getting faster if you're tired and fatigued all the time. That's more conditioning and just what most coaches do, especially in like football and baseball. They just run you to run you. You're not actually getting faster that way. You want to be rested and be fully rested for each sprint, whether it is an acceleration, whether it is a top speed sprint. Just rest. And again, a good general rule is typically 1 minute per every 10 yards you're sprinting. Everyone's going to be different. Some people recover faster than others, those types of things, but make sure they're full effort, full intent when you're sprinting, because our objective is to get faster. It's not to get tired, get fatigued. Sprinting, we want to get faster. And with the form again, there's the acceleration, the angle, more upright when you're top velocity, but there's no perfect form. Not everyone's going to run the same, just like not everyone's going to squat the same or bench press the same. We're all different. In every movement, every time we sprint, it's going to be a little bit different because there's no such thing as the perfect movement that's repetitive. Yeah, we're going to repeat it, but it's not going to be the same exact movement every single time. There's little differences in all of our movements every time we just step. Every step's going to be different. But there's no perfect form. But if you can get into the the thinking with your acceleration being angled, driving the knee forward and pushing back, landing the foot underneath the hip. And then once your top speed, it's more upright, but the foot is still landing underneath your hip, projecting you up and projecting you forward. And it's kind of like a bicycle more speed. Again, the arms, everyone's gonna be different. You'll see some of the best sprinters, one arm will be fisted, one arm will be spread, one will be straight, one will be bent. There's a lot of weird things going on because athletes compensate for whatever our bodies are used to, our habits we get into, different things like that, previous injuries, whatever it may be. We compensate to make our bodies work the best they can. And that's why elite athletes are elite, because they are elite at compensating. And they might not have the perfect form, but they're still elite athletes, are still fast. So don't worry too much about the form. Yes, you want to have good form. You don't want to be flailing out like that, looking like a baby giraffe. But you'll see, if you look head on from a sprinter, some of them will be more internally rotated. Some, like myself, I land more externally rotated on my feet. So there's just a lot of different things, a lot of quirkiness. But do what you can, work on it. If you want to get faster, work on your acceleration, work on your top speed, and there's no better time to do it than right now in sprintember. So that's what I got for you today, guys. If you have any questions on sprinting or anything else, drop them below in the comments or send me an email, trevor@tagpn.com, and we'll talk to you again soon.